do you want Houston residents to know most importantly about this latest case here in our area?
So this recent case of measles, I think, is nothing for anybody to get too excited about. This is a unvaccinated individual who traveled internationally. This is what we see from time to time here in Houston. This case has nothing to do with the situation in Central and West Texas. The takeaway is that you should be vaccinated against measles. It is still out there in the world, and vaccination works really, really well. And so right now, most people are vaccinated here in the Houston area, and so I wouldn't. Nobody should get excited or be alarmed by this at all.
Speaking of which, I did a little research regarding school districts and which school districts in our area in Greater Houston did not have the 95%, which is needed in vaccinations to reach herd immunity. Are there pockets in the Houston area where that 95% in vaccination has not been reached? And if so, are you all doing something to address that?
You're right. There are areas in Houston where the vaccination rate we believe is below 95%. We talk about some certain school districts and some neighborhoods. And so one of the things we're doing is working with people like you to get the word out that the vaccine is available, it is highly effective, it has been around for decades. There have been basically no problems with it. And because we don't have any spread of measles here locally in Houston now, if you're not vaccinated, this is really the best time to go ahead and get vaccinated. Surely, if you were to wait until, hopefully not, but if we wind up getting spread in the Houston area, well, remember the vaccine takes about 2 weeks between when you get it and when your immune system has fully responded to it. So you don't want to wait then. Now is the time to go ahead and get vaccinated if you aren't already vaccinated.
If you don't remember if you got the vaccine as a child, is there a way you can get tested to see if you have immunity?
There is a way to get tested. It's a simple blood test. The results generally come back in 2 to 3 days. It is actually less expensive to go ahead and get vaccinated because the blood test does have a cost with it. I don't know exactly what it is, but I do know that it's more than the vaccine. And if you were vaccinated as a child and you get vaccinated again as an adult, that's not an issue. So there is a test, and some people we're hearing anecdotally that some people are opting to get tested. It's available, and you can get tested if you like.
Are there free clinics coming in the next weeks, months that people should know about to help with the cost of that in terms of
Yeah.
vaccinations?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm going to refer you back to the health department for details
Okay.
on that. We do have clinics from time to time. I don't know if we've got something this next week or not.
Okay. And one more question for you. In terms of the international travel, for those in Houston who are concerned, okay, at first, COVID came into our area via people who traveled internationally. Is this the return of something like that, where it is international at first and then it spreads that way? Is this just the beginning of something like the COVID-19 pandemic, where it starts with international travel and then it spreads like
Yeah.
COVID-19?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And the answer is no. And the reason is that when COVID started as a population, we had no immunity whatsoever. So here in the United States, we have very high levels of immunity. Now, the magic number is greater than 95%. We know that when the community is more than 95% of the people are vaccinated, that the virus has almost no chance of spreading because it spreads so easily that number is really high. And so when you start getting 94, 93, 92%, that's when the virus rather can start getting some hold. But we have really high vaccination rates. In certain neighborhoods, we wish it was a little bit higher. But comparing it to COVID, there was no immunity, and we were all at risk. That's not the case today.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
So one thing is, I think that we hear a lot of talk about from a vaccine hesitancy, and I want to remind parents, if you're looking for there to be a no risk option, there is no such thing. So the vaccine, the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine has been around for decades. Yes, there's a chance that you or your child could have an allergic reaction to it, or you could get a reaction from the wound, from the injection site or something. There is some really small risk with it. The risk of getting measles, if you're unvaccinated and you come across somebody who has measles, is very, very high because it spreads so easily. And the thing I want people to understand is measles is a miserable illness, very high fevers. You feel really terrible. And then there's some complications. So about 1 in 1,000, and we've seen this, about 1 in 1,000 cases will die. And about another 1 in 1,000 cases, there will be some type of a permanent neurologic complication, most commonly deafness. But you don't want to get measles. I mean, most people will get through it and be fine, but it is a miserable thing to experience. And then there's a risk. So again, so for those who are, a little hesitant about vaccines, they've heard all kinds of things about vaccines, there isn't a no risk option. You need to decide what is the greater risk, an allergic reaction to the vaccine, which is really, really small, or, being exposed to measles and getting really, really sick with it. And so that's the thing. There isn't a no risk option. You have to choose which risk you're willing to take.